Okay, let's talk a little bit about the back of the unit and the interfaces. You can see I've removed the blue tape. Actually, this is a different unit that didn't have tape, so I kind of cheated. This is one of the wires that you undid from the bubble wrap. This black and red wire here is a ground, has a ground clip here that you can use to ground the D-Lev. And the red one here has a piece of heat shrink on the end to keep you from shorting out or causing any trouble. You can power it via this wire if you want to. You need to give it 5 volts positive on the red and ground obviously on the ground. But there are various ways of powering it. Okay, this is the serial dongle. So you can connect this to your computer and it will power the D-Lev, it will ground the D-Lev if your computer is grounded, and it'll provide a communication like a serial communication link for the library if you want to update the software or change some of the presets around or save your presets or load new ones or whatever, that sort of thing. So this is like a multi-purpose kind of do-all kind of deal for power, ground, and communication. This is a fiber optic, and it is for the audio. It's 48 kilohertz at 24 bits, and it plugs into your DA box, which yours probably looks a little different than this, but they're all kind of the same. It plugs in here like that. And we'll go over that later. You also got 2 USB to barrel connector cables in your kit. One has a blue piece of tape on the end, and that's so that you don't accidentally use it. It plugs in here, and this is yet another way to power the D-Lev. It plugs into the FPGA board right here. But don't do that unless you really want to. You shouldn't do it unless you want to power it that way. This other one has a barrel connector on it, and it plugs into there. It's for powering the DA box via USB. That's a 5 volt connection also. And then you have these 2 banana to alligator clip wires, short wires. You plug them into the banana jack there and here, and then you hook those up to the antenna plates like that. Alright, so if you want to know more about what's going on back here, the piece of paper that came with it details each one of these jacks in the back here. Obviously the tuner plugs in here, the encoders plug in on either side here. This is for your pitch box, this is for your volume box. This is your SPDIF, the fiber optic. This is the cable that we were talking about for power and ground. And this is the serial power and ground connector. You got to be really careful with this connector. If it comes undone, make sure you're absolutely sure you're plugging it in correctly. You plug it in, otherwise you could hurt the unit. And so you can see this graphic here is for this expansion connector where that gets plugged in, the serial dongle gets plugged in. So you can consult that if you have any doubts when you're plugging it in, unplugging it, whatever. You don't want to, one thing you really don't want to do is multiply power it from different sources, because then you might hurt it, or you might hurt the sources that are trying to provide the power. It's called like back powering. So you want to power it from like a single source. If you've got this plugged into a computer or another power source, you don't want to be powering it probably via this, via the FPGA barrel connector, nor this wire here, the 5 volt ground wire. You don't you want to pick one of those. And if you want to talk to it via serial, but you don't want to power it, you can take this, the 4 wires on this connector apart. There's just a little bit of heat shrink tubing around them that you can cut away. You can remove the power and ground. And so, okay, let's move on to the next thing.